Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Stating the Obvious. Now, for our listeners, or I guess viewers on YouTube, you may notice something a little bit different. Just a smidgen. Tiny bit. We have videos. We all have webcams. Yay.
Well,
And
most of us.
Most of us. Yeah. But we've decided to try and take it to the next level.
You know, level 1, now we're on level 2.
Level 2 podcasting. You can see our faces. That's pretty cool if you watch on YouTube. If you're watching on anywhere else, you can't. But, you know, watch on YouTube. See what we look like. It's crazy. But with that, you know, episodes will be the same old. Maybe sometimes we'll comment about things that we see, things that we're feeling. But
that's a good obvious fact, Jit. That's a strong one to start off.
You know what? That's my obvious fact for the day.
Nice.
But let's get into everyone's obvious facts. Pranay, are you prepared?
I do.
I start with Pranay so often.
I have an obvious fact. Okay, so you know how when you look at a star, you're seeing how it was. Like it takes a long time to travel to you, so you're seeing how it was like however many millions of years ago.
Yeah.
No, I the same thing happens with literally everything you see. You're seeing in the past because it still takes an amount of time for your brain to process like that you are seeing it. So, like the video I'm seeing of you, like obviously there's lag in between, but even if we're sitting in front of each other, I would be seeing you in the past. And if I was, even if I am seeing you right now, this is also the past.
Yeah,
I guess
that's true for like all of your senses. I mean, it takes time for sound waves to get to you. If you touch something, actually, it takes time for like the nerve signals to get to your brain.
It's a trivia question. Out of all the senses, which one do you think is the fastest?
What?
Like, which one do you think takes the smallest reaction time for your brain to process?
Probably smell, because the nerve is right next to the brain.
Ah, very good, Cobb.
I don't.
According to
I don't think it'll be smell.
Okay, should I go ahead and say it? At least according to the sources that I
because light.
Okay, no.
Sure.
According to my sources, at least it is sound because, like the mechanism in which it like you hear stuff is more mechanical compared to other stuff that are like it's like eardrum hitting you rather than like when you look at light. Like I don't know exactly what happens, but that is the explanation I've been told.
Yeah, light takes a lot to process. Touch takes a lot to process. I feel like sound and smell are more primitive.
But yeah.
You know, that could have been a really, really cool obvious fact, but I feel like PJ just explained that so poorly.
What, the sound? The stuff you see in the past?
Yeah, the stuff you see in the past.
Pranay, this is why you never did well next temp.
Why must we always roast his except?
Look,
okay?
it's so true though. Like he takes.
You know what? I'm standing up for Pranay.
Very nice.
Actually standing up.
Now.
Look, all I'm saying is that Pranay has a habit of taking something that could be explained in like 50 words and it's stretching out to like 500. Like
he's just trying to hit the word limit.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's just writing an essay every time he opens his mouth.
And maybe that's a good thing. No.
Sure. Let's go with that.
Very good. Very good.
All right, Jacob. You got an obvious
I
fact?
do have an obvious fact, Jit.
Yes.
So, if an illegal alien goes and beats up a pedophile, it's Alien versus Predator.
Oh my god.
That's funny. That's well done.
That's so dumb.
That's a good one. You're dumb. I like it.
It is quite obvious.
It is quite obvious. It is also obvious. Actually, it's not that obvious that I'm eating food unless you're watching on YouTube. But
yeah,
what you eating, Jim?
We can say audio listeners and video listeners.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't it just be viewers and listeners now?
Oh yeah. That's true. Just viewers,
audio listeners, video listeners. No, I'm eating dokpa, which is like Indian food. It's kind of like I don't know how to explain it. How do you explain it, Renee?
Wait, show it to me. I don't think we call it the same thing.
Show it to the camera.
Like it's like the yellow, like Italy looking. You know what I'm talking about.
I see.
And you have it with like chutney.
Yeah.
I'm eating it with like a green chutney right now.
Yeah. Wait, you said it was dokla? Is that what you called it?
Yeah.
See, we don't in Andhra Pradesh we do not eat this, but fish has from time to time. So this is how I know. But
okay, that's pretty good.
But how do I describe it? I don't know. It's like a spiced.
How would you describe idli?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Like rice. It's like rice batter, right? So
it's a rice cake. Is it a rice cake?
It's not a rice cake. It's not a. I mean, rice cakes taste different.
But it's
what is a rice cake?
Rice cake almost tastes like a non-sweet Rice Krispie.
That's true. But I know it's made out of rice batter, right? So I describe it like a rice batter bread. I remember because one time in middle school, do you know, like in 6th grade, how we couldn't sit with anyone we wanted to sit with? Like we had to sit with like people from our homeroom class.
Oh yeah,
or something.
we had like assigned seating.
Yeah, and so basically everyone in my class was white then, and I'd like bring idli, and they'd be like, "Yo, what is this?" And I would just say it's like bread with a dipping sauce for the chutney. I call it a dipping sauce.
Amazing. Making our ancestors proud. I've got bread with dipping sauce.
You make it sound like McDonald's.
Like. Oh god. All right, Noah.
What?
You got obvious
fact.
It's really hard to be funny on purpose.
True, dude. It's actually unreal.
Last time Jit had to write a set, you used the exact same obvious fact.
I mean, it's just like every time, like I'm reminded of it. Like Vis will like call me up at like 11 p.m. He'll be like, "Yo, I got a set tomorrow," and I'm like, "Okay, let me think of jokes." And then my brain is just like, "I got nothing, man." Like, you're on your own.
No, dude. Hands down, the best way to write material is just like to chill out and have a conversation with someone else. Because Noah and I will just be like shooting the shit while we're talking, and then one of us will say something funny. And we'll be like, "That is a bit."
How did that even come from? Like shooting the shit? What does that even mean?
I mean, I think it started as like shoot the wind, but then like people were just like, "You shoot the shit. You shoot the shit."
Just shoot the shit. Nah, dude. People like load shit onto the things. They're like, "Oh."
That sounds disgusting. I'll be honest. I don't want to think about that. I want to have that mental image in my head.
It's too late.
It's already there.
Okay. Anyway, so the set that like Noah helped me write and that I ended up performing was for an audition for some talent show at my university. I don't even know if it's like a talent show or if it's just some kind of like performance concert thing.
I mean, it's probably like I don't know what's that. Not American Idol, but the one where like it's like any kind of thing, not just singing.
America's Got Talent.
Yeah, America's Got Talent. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like that, I guess.
So it's just like a random show of talent. Not even like just like a performance kind of thing for people to showcase their stuff.
I think there are like winners and stuff. I don't even know. It's kind of weird, but I went and I like did my audition in front of like these 8 sorority girls.
Interesting.
And then this one dude. And I was like, I have like the entire joke about video games, it was just hit. Except with the one dude who was like, that's funny.
See, Jit pulls the schmoves when he needs to.
Yeah. They were all laughing because we also know I wrote a song. If you are a fan of the classic edition of our podcast, go back, check it out.
Oh no!
At the end of every episode, there's a song, that we wrote. Yeah, you can just go back. You can just go listen exclusively to the song, but it's enhanced if you listen to the full episode because we talk about stuff that we talked about in the episode in the song. But
it's true.
Point being is that we got pretty good at these songwriting things, and now that I can like actually play the guitar and I can write my own like chord progressions and I can do all that stuff, we wrote like an original song. So it was.
Now that we have video, you want to give us a little sample?
I don't know how
are those two things related? I mean,
it's true. That's also true. I was going to say,
like, you don't watch songs, you don't like watch music.
Nah, but Jit's a performer.
Yeah, that's true. That's the other point.
We're disagreeing.
You guys are making good points when you want me to say.
Oh my god.
Should I do it?
You should do it. Just a little, just a tiny bit. You don't have to do the full song. This is gonna be good. I believe.
Cobb believes.
I believe. Hey, I mean, when Jit sang the songs for the classic edition, which you should definitely check out, like they were pretty. Jit is a good singer.
I mean,
like straight up.
Should they check out the classic edition though? Because I went back and listened to some of those. Our sound quality was.
Yeah,
the sound quality was not
It
great.
was bad.
Truthfully, like we were just starting out, so
yeah.
you know.
There's a novelty for that, you know.
This is my guitar.
Nice guitar.
Ooh, fancy. I like the blue. All right, let's see, Jit.
I don't even remember the lyrics, so.
I'm not helping you.
Well, do you? It's because you don't remember the lyrics. I
Exactly.
I was like, yeah, there's no way. Oh my god. I don't know how the audio will come across. Actually,
It'll be fine. Just do it.
it'll be fine. Should I
Yeah.
sing the song?
Yeah, sing the song, play the guitar, do the whole.
Sing the song
9
over
yards.
people.
My people. I'll start just saying like soul storms, bro.
It's
like Indian
You were a little while
chants.
before.
Bro, I'm telling you, they're actually kind of catchy.
Kind of good. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not even capping. And some of them, like they're really insane. Like some of the things. My dad does this one that's super super fast. He literally goes the speed of Eminem in Rap God. Like
Explain
he
what these
is?
things are to me. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Maybe he is Eminem.
it's just like religious kind of like chants. I guess.
I see.
I don't know how else to explain it. So that's kind of the best. It's like bread with dipping sauce.
Nice.
Bread with dipping sauce.
Like that's like the best. I don't know. Okay, so this bit is prefaced by a little. The song is prefaced by a bit that's like, I'm in a bad relationship. It's one-sided. I give hours and hours of my time, but all I hear back is, "You're so useless. Why do you never want to help me?" Even though I'm trying my best, and I just never expected League of Legends to treat me this way.
I was just about to make that joke.
Wait,
Yeah,
is
that's
are
a
these the
joke that
lyrics
only
of the
hit with a
song?
guy.
These the lyrics of the song?
No, this is the bit that I like. So the way my whole set is like, I do this entire set, then I do this bit, and then I transition to the song.
All right, let's hear the song. I'm very
And
interested.
so then I just say, worst part is I keep coming back to League because deep down I kind of like it. I think that's true for a lot of guys. Everybody says they like good girls, but deep down I think every guy just wants a bad.
Okay.
And I don't mean just a bad girl. I mean a bad,
Okay.
the kind that may or may not violate the Geneva Convention on a regular basis. In fact, I feel so strongly about this. I wanted to express my feelings through song.
Geneva Convention.
Oh my god, dude, I can't. Hey, we're bringing the song back to stating the obvious, guys. Peep it.
What the fuck does peep even mean?
I don't know. Can you guys hear this already?
Yeah.
Yep,
Pretty
it's good.
I love the smell of your leather jacket and the tattoos on your head. I love the piercings on your body. I just want you in my bed. Mama tells me you're a bad influence. Doesn't want to see her good boy gone. Oh yeah. But at the end, when it comes down to it, how could love this good be wrong? You're a bad girl. You drop your litter in the park. You don't say please or thank you. You scare muggers after dark. You're a bad girl. You don't tip anywhere we eat. You like the goddamn Patriots. You step on people's feet. You're a bad girl. That's like a little snippet. There's
Very
more.
good,
but
Tom.
I thought this was gonna be a meme song.
Yeah,
that was
gonna be a
genuinely
meme song, but it's an
good.
actual good song.
Yeah.
If you want to listen here, outside the second chorus is, "You're a bad girl. You smuggled nukes into Iran. You sparked a civil war, and yeah, that really turns me on. You're a bad girl. I wanna fall into your arms. All your war crimes in Uganda, they are just part of your charm. Some might call me obsessed. There's warrants out for your arrest. And then the song keeps going.
This is a very good song.
I could.
This is a really good song.
This is good.
It's a good, yeah.
Yeah.
No one and
like,
I were
straight
trying
up.
to write it as a V song, but then no one just started writing banger lyrics, and then we started piecing it together, and like the
Yeah,
melody was
see-
coming together.
See, I can 100% tell that it sounds like Jith wrote the first chorus and Noah wrote the second chorus. I don't know if that's true, but that's what it sounds like.
I mean, the second chorus, yeah, definitely. You can tell.
Yeah, like the Iran and
As soon
Uganda.
as
That's Noah straight up. Like,
Uganda, I was like, maybe Jith was just like had some influence of the.
No, that was Noah. For
yeah,
sure,
that was Noah. Jith wrote the first stuff. Like,
I
You
mean,
can
like this
tell.
one
It's a
definitely was
legitimate
like
song.
littering the park. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I did the litter in the park stuff. I thought it was like funny to like it just
Yeah,
escalates.
Yeah.
This was
That's,
like
this is actually so good at so many levels. The escalation is
Like-
also pretty good, perfect.
like
too.
this one was like, oh, so she's like a bad person. Like she litters in the park. I'm like, yeah, no, she's a bad person. Like she's a threat to like international peace. You know,
Yeah.
Jith, when's the album dropping? When's the single dropping?
Bro, at the audition, they were. I sang our other hit single, "You Wanna Fuck."
You Wanna Fuck.
Have you guys not heard "You Wanna Fuck"? I won't play it right now. Maybe for a
Yeah.
different episode. But
Yeah.
like they recorded, they were like, "Where do you have this anywhere? Like, have you posted this anywhere?" They like wanted to hear it again. I was like, my heart.
Yeah, Jith. If the people want, we can record it and post it to the Stating the Obvious YouTube channel. And we have a Spotify account, which you should check out. We can also post songs there.
Yeah, we can do it all.
we started out a podcast.
That's a good idea.
Then we turned into a band.
And then we just well done, man. It's more like a. It's just like
All our songs
Hail
should
the song-
be about obvious
Hail
things.
the songwriter, just the song artist.
Like, bro, the grass is green, the sky's blue.
But to be fair, like, we have other stuff on there. We have some clips. We got PJ's sung some songs before. Not like Jith.
Oh
but,
yeah, I
you know.
did sing all these I rapped.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you did
dude.
rap.
I still remember when we were recording those songs for the classic edition. Like it would be like me and Viswa going hard, and then Jacob would be like trying to contribute, and the Pranay would just disappear. He would just be gone.
Yeah, straight
I
up.
had work to do, man. I had to go,
Oh, my.
I gotta do shit.
Oh, shit.
Good
Dude.
times. Well, I'm glad the audition went well, Jith. It sounds
Yeah.
like it was a hit.
Bro, look, peep me in 5 years, Radio City Music Hall, Madison Square Garden.
Jith, when that happens, I expect you to wear the Stating the Obvious merch.
Yeah, I'll
Yes, he
I'll
will do
advertise
this.
it.
Don't forget about us little peasants.
Yeah.
I'll
please.
never. You guys will be on the stage with me, actually.
Yeah. We'll be your hype men. We'll hype you up.
I could
Pranay would be a
dance in the
great hype man.
background. Dance in the
I can
background.
imagine Pranay being a hype man.
No, the only condition Pranay's coming on stage with me is if he wears a gorilla costume. But he can't wear, like, he wouldn't have the face mask. Like, he'd still be Pranay. But the rest of him would be gorilla.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, I would do that even if you
Pranay
didn't
would
tell me
like
to do it.
absolutely try to like crowd surf. Like I could see him trying to jump off the stage. But, like,
Bro, it would be epic. Gorilla Pranay.
monkey Pranay.
It would be good.
If only.
Monk.
What do you mean, if only? I feel like
Yeah,
Pranay
well.
would be the next, like, Spider-Man bad guy. Like, you know how you have, like, Lizard?
Yeah.
You have gorilla.
Pranay would
Pranay
just
would
be a monk.
Monk.
You'd just be like, hey,
Monk.
monk. Yeah, no hair either. Truly, at 2 levels, he's a monk. So,
Yeah.
how was everyone doing?
Well,
Next on
here,
the topic
pretty
list.
good.
I mean,
I'm tabbing through the 6 different windows. Man.
I'm looking at our topic list.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, guys. I know I wasn't there for planning, but why did you guys put these 2 topics right next to each other?
Which one? Which ones?
I
No.
don't know.
Like we're going
I
from
don't.
Viswa's talent show. to the ongoing Russian-Ukrainian war. Like-
Hey, those two
Hey,
things
war-
could be
War
related.
crimes
You
in
never know.
Uganda, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
war crimes in Uganda.
oh my!
Uh,
Yeah, well,
well, now that we're on the subject, Noah, I feel like you have a decent understanding of what's
Yeah,
going on. Can
I've
you please
been
inform
been
us?
following events in Ukraine very closely over the last few days.
Could you please
So,
inform
yeah.
us?
I mean,
how
I
we
just
got
want
here,
to, I just
what's
want to
happening?
like really quickly like put a like date and time on us right now. Like we're recording on the 26th of February.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Third day of the conflict. Well, second or third day, depending on like how you're counting. I think like for us it's the third day. For them, it might be like the second day, or I'm actually not sure about that. But yeah, so like 2 or 3 days ago, Russia essentially, well, they didn't declare war, but Putin sent in quote unquote peacekeepers into Ukraine, which has resulted in an ongoing conflict there. And yeah, I mean, like it's kind of surreal because you're looking at like there's been a lot of like videos, tweets and things like that coming out of Ukraine, which honestly looks like the kind of thing you haven't seen in Europe since World War II. And it's really weird just like seeing like a historical event just like take place right in front of you. I mean, I think we're all like probably born before 9/11, but like we were obviously like babies. We have no recollection of that. So I think since then, this is probably the like most major like political military event of the 21st century. I mean, yeah, it's obviously it's tragic what's happening over there. Thousands of people have been killed. We don't know exact numbers or figures. Millions of people have been displaced. But yeah, how the conflict turns out remains to be seen in large part.
Wait,
What's the end goal
what
here?
started like why did he start considering this in the first place?
Yeah, this goes back quite a ways. So if you want to like explain the roots of the conflict, you really have to go back to the breakup of the Soviet Union. So like back in the early 1990s, you know, Soviet Union broke up and like the Republic of Ukraine voted to become an independent country. And since then, Russia and Ukraine were, for the most part, like pretty close together up until 2014. In 2014, you had a widespread popular revolt in Ukraine called the Euromaidan protests, which toppled the government and put in a new, like democratically elected government that was more Western facing. As a result of that, Putin went in and invaded and annexed the peninsula of Crimea, which was part of Ukraine, but he did annex that, and he started supporting separatist movements in eastern Ukraine, which resulted in sort of like a low intensity sort of proxy war in that region that's been going on for like about 8 years. Now, the real lead up to the current conflict started. I'm actually not sure about like the real timeline. Maybe like 6 months ago or so, where you saw like a buildup of like Russian forces on the border. And a few months ago, you saw the Biden administration come out and say, "We have like strong intelligence, which leads us to believe that Russia is seeking to invade Ukraine." And you saw like a large escalation. Russia like brought in more troops, more forces onto the Ukrainian border. Putin started saying things like he wanted to guarantee that Ukraine wasn't going to join NATO. And the thing was, like, Ukraine joining NATO was like never on the table. It was not even being discussed. So it was pretty clear from that he was just trying to use that as sort of an excuse to like increase tensions, increase escalations, and eventually lead up to an invasion, which, you know, in the last week or so, we saw like a huge increase in escalations, tensions, and then finally a few days ago, we saw Russia actually send ground troops, airstrikes into Ukraine and launch a full-scale invasion.
So, what's the end goal here? Like, what is Russia's goal?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what everybody has been like asking. Like, no, like the only person who really knows is the Russian government and like essentially Putin. He's stated that he wants to quote unquote demilitarize Ukraine, which means he's probably seeking to topple the government, institute a puppet government, but it's entirely possible that he decides to try and annex Ukraine in its entirety, or he just decides to take essentially the eastern half of Ukraine, implement some sort of puppet government, and leave the western half of Ukraine as basically just a rump state, a sort of like leftover of the old government. Or there's an entire possibility he tries to just decapitate the Ukrainian government, and declare victory and leave. We really have no idea what his end game here is. And honestly, I think a lot of it depends on what he thinks he can get. If he thinks his invasion will be quick and easy, then he might try to push for the entirety of Ukraine. But so far, the Ukrainian military has been putting up a fierce defense. It's been 3 days, and Russia so far has been unable to take any of the major cities that they've laid siege to. So Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, Kharkiv, Sumy. Like, I'm sure I butchered all of those names, but those are like really the 3 major cities that Russia has been really placing under siege. And so far, they haven't been able to gain full control over any of them, which, to be honest, was really surprising to me. Because Russia's military far larger than Ukraine's military, like probably on the order of like 10 times more combat aircraft, maybe 100 times more tanks and armored vehicles. I'm not exactly sure about infantry, probably more like 5 to 10 times more soldiers deployed. So they have a much larger military force. And we've seen like... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's one of the more interesting things I thought, because, I thought like in the modern age, we would never really see another war that's being fought that's like not digital. But this one, there's literally just tanks. Like, not they're like actual like invasion at least.
The last time we saw a war that was sort of comparable to this was Desert Storm in 1991. And in that case, the U.S.-led coalition was facing up against the military of Iraq, which I believe was somewhat comparable in like amount of forces and type of like equipment as like Russia and Ukraine. But the U.S.-led coalition just decimated Iraq's military in the space of about a week. And that is not the kind of tempo and pace we're seeing from the Russian military at this point. It so far looks like it's a very slow, grinding advance. I mean, they are pushing into Ukraine, but it's taking them a lot of time, a lot of lives. We don't have a clear picture of the kind of losses Russia has sustained. It's kind of funny because the only losses they're willing to admit are like, one combat aircraft, which they said went down due to pilot error. We have a video of it getting exploded by a missile. So, I mean, I guess according
that was his error. He should have got it.
Pilot just dodged the missile. I mean, pilot error, man.
You should have downbeat, bro.
But yeah, I mean,
wait, you mentioned that they're only sending in like super old equipment, right?
So we don't know exactly like what kind of forces they're putting in there, but so far what we've seen is destroyed T-80 tanks. And for reference, Russia has like a few different kinds of tanks, but the T-80 is generally considered to be like the worst of all of them. It's like the least modern. It's like the cheapest. It's like among the oldest tanks they have in their inventory. As well as like we've seen videos of like surrendered Russian troops. They're talking about how like they didn't want to be there. We saw like a video of an entire platoon of Russian infantry just surrendering. So what it looks like to me is Putin's essentially taking all of his worst equipped soldiers, his least motivated conscripts, and just sort of like sending them in to try and like wear down the Ukrainian military so he doesn't have to like risk his like highly motivated, highly trained volunteer soldiers and like his more modern equipment. And that is an interesting strategy. I think a lot of analysts think it's a mistake because this kind of warfare what Putin wants to do is he wants to get through the invasion phase as quickly as possible, which means he wants to try and shatter the Ukrainian military with an elite spearhead of the kind that you would see from the U.S. Marine Corps, Navy SEALs, very highly trained, very well equipped, elite shock troops to try and shatter the military so he can move through Ukraine very quickly. What he's doing instead is he's sending in very low quality troops, very poorly motivated troops who, yes, he has a lot of them, but we're seeing they're taking a lot of losses. They're moving very slowly, and they do not seem to have the kind of motivation, really the willpower necessary to overcome the Ukrainian defense, because the Ukrainian defenders we've seen are very brave, very highly motivated, of really the kind they're doing stuff acts of bravery and heroism we really haven't seen since World War II.
Also, the president of Ukraine, right?
Yeah, Volodymyr Zelensky. Yeah, he's still in Kiev, which is currently under siege by Russian forces. He said he's not leaving the country. Honestly, he has turned out to be a very, from the looks of it, charismatic and brave wartime leader. Which I think a lot of people didn't expect. He started out his political career as a comedian. Actually, it's a crazy story. So what happened was, he had a career in comedy, and then he starred in a TV show, like a sort of political satire called Servant of the People, where he was playing a teacher who, through some wacky hijinks, led to a big popular sort of popular movement, which brought the teacher to the presidency. And as a result of the popularity of the TV show, he created a political party which drew upon a lot of popular support to propel him to the presidency. So he basically made a TV show where he was a character that went from being essentially a nobody to being the president, and then he went and did that.
Oh, then
just in real life.
Interesting.
Impressive.
Yeah.
He's called all the NATO people in Europe leaders, right? And he's please help.
Yeah.
And they're just not responding.
It's a tough situation. I mean, the EU, the US have implemented sanctions on Russian banks and leaders, but there's honestly not a whole lot that the US and NATO can do in this situation. I mean, Russia has nuclear weapons, and there have been some people who are saying that we should have had troops in Ukraine. We should have had some kind of concrete guarantee, because what happened was very early on in the buildup and the escalation in tensions before the invasion actually happened, Biden came out and said, we're not putting troops into Ukraine. It's just not happening. Under no circumstances will U.S. troops be deployed to Ukraine. And a lot of people were saying why would he say that? And the reason is because Russia knew we were never putting troops in Ukraine. If Biden said we're gonna put a division of infantry into Ukraine, that's essentially he's making a bluff that he can't back up. He's essentially drawing a red line that he has no real ability to enforce, because if you put US troops in Ukraine and Russia invades anyways, what next? Do you have US troops firing on Russian troops? Do you have this possibility of an escalation to all-out nuclear war over Ukraine? I don't think anybody in the US would be willing to back that up. And if you don't have US troops engaging Russian troops, think of the optics. You would have essentially US tanks, US soldiers just watching Russian tanks roll by as they continue to just basically bomb and shell Ukrainian cities. It would be a far worse situation if Biden had put troops into Ukraine. And it doesn't feel good. A lot of people wish we could do something to help them, but it's really, we're constrained by the facts that Russia is just a huge military power and a nuclear power. Quite frankly, I think if Russia did not have nuclear weapons, there's a possibility NATO would consider intervening in a very strong manner. I mean, in 1991 in Desert Storm, at that time, Iraq had the 5th largest military in the world, conventionally, but they did not have nuclear weapons. Russia obviously has a much larger military, but they also have nuclear weapons. And I think that is the key deciding factor here is that when you get nukes involved, it's just very your ability to act is very constrained because you never want to get into a situation where like the possibility of a nuclear exchange is even like on the table.
So you think sanctions are probably the best move, or like the only?
They're
move
the only.
that they
Yeah,
got?
they're really the only move we have. And the thing is that sanctions so far, what we've seen is like sanctions don't really result in countries changing their behavior. I mean, we've been sanctioning Iran and like North Korea for like decades. We've had like an embargo on Cuba since like the 1960s, and their leadership is still kicking. So like U.S. sanctions aren't going to by themselves topple the Russian government. The difference is the Russian people potentially might decide to take it upon themselves to try and topple the government. They might say like, enough is enough. We don't want to be in Ukraine. We don't want these sanctions on the economy. And you might see like a popular revolt. I mean, we've already seen anti-war protests in like Moscow, St. Petersburg. So far, those protests seem to have died down. I haven't heard much from inside of Russia, but I think what's going to end up happening is you're just going to see like sort of like a large, widespread sense of discontent in Russia. I think a lot of people are hoping that somebody's going to like topple Putin or like take out Putin. Quite frankly, I don't see that happening. I mean, it's like a sad fact of history, but brutal tyrants rarely lose power. Generally, what happens is you get like these like sort of like brutal despotic leaders like your Stalins, your Hitlers, your Maos, and they come to power and they enforce their power through just like brute force like Putin does. But what ends up happening is they don't themselves lose power, but eventually they die, they get replaced, and the people who come after them inherit a system that is reliant on just like brutality and violence to maintain power. And eventually you're going to have a leader who just isn't willing to do that. You're going to have your Gorbachev, you're going to have, Tsar Nicholas II or Louis XVI from like France and Russia, like the kind of people who aren't willing to just murder everyone who goes up against them. And when that happens, the system collapses.
So we just gotta wait for Putin to die, or we gotta kill him or something?
Yeah, I mean, he's 69 years old, which is, nice, but also nice in the sense that he's getting on in years. Like, but, I mean, honestly, I think that's kind of that's part of the reason, large part of the reason why he's invading Ukraine right now, because he's getting old, and I think Putin has always wanted to essentially take back the Soviet Union, not in the sense of communism. I don't think he cares about, communism as a system. He just wants Russia to be a superpower again, like a great power of the kind that the Soviet Union wanted. And I think he realizes like now he's getting old, he's getting on in years. Russia's economy is declining. Their population growth is declining. As time goes on, Putin's going to have less and less opportunities to fulfill his dream of like a greater Russia. And that creates a lot of danger because basically he's looking at this and saying like, I got to just do this now or I'm never going to get a chance to do it. And I think that's...
So he's desperate.
Yeah, he's desperate. And I think that's why he invaded Ukraine. And you can see, I think he made a major misplay. He made a major miscalculation because the Russian military has not been performing well in Ukraine. They have not seized the objectives I think they wanted to take control over. And I think a lot of it was just he did not make this as like some sort of like genius calculated play, some like power move that was just like backed up by like this like savvy political intuition. This is a desperate old man trying to secure his legacy before he dies, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's crazy. I judged Harvard last weekend, and the topic is whether Turkey should be like a member of NATO or not, basically, right? And all the topics were about Ukraine, right? Yeah. It was like, Turkey's all the contentions were Ukraine, like Turkey's letting Russia go, Ukraine and stuff. This is before the invasion. Yeah. This is pre-invasion. And all the impacts are like, obviously, it's a nuclear war, right?
I mean...
I'm like, this has never happened. This is never going to happen. This is all just debate stuff. Never going to happen. But now, like, nuclear war is like, it's not a non-zero chance.
It's definitely that is the thing. Like, if you get a desperate Putin with nuclear weapons,
Like, there's no
Yeah, I'm
math.
not saying it's like a high chance. I'm not saying like it's a good chance that there's gonna be like he might use nuclear weapons, but there is a chance. There is a chance he gets so desperate that he believes that using tactical nuclear weapons will secure him victory.
Don't they have Chernobyl now?
But like that's not like that's not.
I mean, that's like nuclear fallout kind of.
Yeah, but like, I mean, they're not going to do anything to Chernobyl. Like, there's nothing they can really use Chernobyl for, to be honest. Like,
it's more like if they make a mistake or something, right?
No, it's because like it's just on the way from like Belarus, where some of their forces invaded from, to Kiev. It's just sort of like there. So I think there's like been a lot made out of like the fact that they took Chernobyl, but I don't think like Russia's going to try and like blow up Chernobyl or anything like that. I mean, for one thing, it's just like, why would they do that? And for another thing, it's like, if they wanted to just like fuck Europe, they have just thousands of ballistic missiles with nuclear warheads. They don't need to blow up Chernobyl.
Yeah, fair enough. I can't even imagine a world where a nuclear weapon is launched.
Same.
Like that seems like history.
It seems like just science fiction too. Yeah. Like,
well. We are living in depressing times.
I thought it was so funny. I was talking to some people yesterday, and I found out that apparently the Taliban released a statement regarding Ukraine. Where like the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan is closely monitoring the situation in Ukraine and expresses concern about real possibility of civilian casualties. The Islamic Emirate calls for restraint by both parties. All sides need to desist from taking positions that could intensify violence.
I'm just imagining that like, it's just it's that fucking meme from like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like, he's out of line, but he's right.
Yeah,
but the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, in line with its foreign policy of neutrality, calls on both sides of the conflict to resolve the crisis through dialogue and peaceful means.
This is actually amazing.
I lost.
Oh, God. But it's like, what do we do now? Like, do we just have to sit and watch what happens?
Yeah, I mean, it's at this point, it all comes down to Ukraine. I mean, like the Ukrainian military has shown themselves to be a very highly motivated force. You've seen a lot of instances of just like acts of like unvarnished heroism. So if the Ukrainian military can hold off the Russian advance, I'm not saying they're going to be able to beat Russia. If Putin decides he's just going to continue throwing troops into the meat grinder, he's going to be able to just like get through Ukraine just through pure attrition. But the longer this goes on, the worse it is for him. Like, because like the longer this goes on, the more Russian troops die, the more body bags get sent home, and the more discontent he faces inside of Russia. And
do you think like what's the point at which he says send in like these elite guys, send in like the Navy SEALs of Russia?
That is a good question. That is a really good question. It's ultimately, I think a lot of it is just dependent on like what's his calculation here? Does he get impatient? Does he say like this is taking too long, and he sends in the shock troops, even if he loses a lot of like very like essentially irreplaceable soldiers and hardware, or does he say like, you know, I can't afford to lose like my like I can't afford to lose a core of my military. He's just gonna try and like grind through the Ukrainian military. I mean, like it's all of it is up to him. Like, I mean, I'm not like an armchair psychologist. I can't tell you what Putin's thinking right now. But all I can say is like, this is, I mean, again, like everyone who like, I mean, I was like, I don't think I said this to any of you guys, but like, I mean, as I was watching like the situation develop, I was like thinking to myself, like, I mean, it looks like Putin's going to invade, but if he does, he's just backing himself into like this is just like a no-win scenario for him. Even if he does defeat the Ukrainian military conventionally and take control of Ukraine, great. Now he has to control a population of like 40 million people who are just entirely against him. Like, I mean, the U.S. tried to control Afghanistan. We tried to control Iraq. We saw how well that turned out for us. I mean, Afghanistan is nowhere as populated as Ukraine. And I mean, if Putin tries to like control Ukraine like with an occupation force, he's going to see a lot of troops just, you know, get taken out by like rebel and like insurrectionist activity. And he's going to have to deal with that nightmare, which is like an entirely different ballgame.
Yeah.
Do you think it just ends at Ukraine? Like, what do you think the
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, like, we have no idea. I mean, I think in his like sort of like long-term goals, his aspirations, he wants to try and break away like Romania, Moldova, Poland, the Baltic states away from NATO. Moldova especially, because they currently have like a breakaway province called Transnistria, which is like, you know, kind of like Eastern Ukraine is a separatist.
It's a really small country, right?
Yeah. So I think potentially we see like Putin take Ukraine and then try to roll immediately into Moldova. Potentially, I don't know. But from the looks of it, he's having a really hard time getting through Ukraine itself. I think there's a large possibility he reaches like the western border of Ukraine and his military is spent. I mean, he's losing helicopters, like combat planes, tanks, armored vehicles, and a lot of troops, a lot of men.
And the U.S. signed like a bill, right, for some like amount, like 600 million or something.
Yeah.
Like
a military.
Do we just what? Yeah. So what does like that entail?
I don't know. I haven't seen the bill specifically, but I would imagine it's Javelin anti-tank missiles and Stinger anti-aircraft missiles, because that is the thing. Like currently, like the way warfare works right now is there is like a large like we've reached the point where like essentially man-portable missiles like Stinger missiles and Javelin missiles are able to take out like helicopters, airplanes, and tanks, which costs a lot more to produce than a missile. And that is part of why it's so hard for Putin to like push into Ukraine. Is like you've seen just like T-80 tanks, like these like essentially very valuable assets for him, just blown up. Just like the turret is just like gone, and that's probably just a result of like a Javelin anti-tank missile or an NLAW, which is essentially the Javelin equivalent, but from the UK, which has supplied a few thousand to Ukraine. So basically, what you're seeing is just like, sure, the Ukrainian military doesn't have helicopters, they don't have tanks or airplanes to the same degree that Russia does, but they have these weapons which allow them to really punch up and really inflict disproportionate losses compared to what they actually have. And yeah, I mean, obviously it's like, it's a distressing conflict. And I mean, that's kind of like part of like the horror of war that I think a lot of people don't really realize until it's like happening right in front of them. Is you think about war and you just like see, like if you look in like, you know, just like the history books like World War II, Vietnam or whatever, I mean, you really just like see just numbers, just X million people dead. And I think a lot of people don't like fully grasp the weight of that. I mean, like to each of us, our own lives are everything. You know, like we view ourselves as essentially protagonists of our own story. Like we have so much personal history just locked up within ourselves. And I think a lot of people don't realize that it's true for everybody. And I mean, you look at a lot of these videos and you see just like dead bodies just discarded on the side of the road. And I think it's very tragic because, I mean, those people have family. You know, they have mothers, fathers. They went to like, you know, elementary school. They had childhood friends. They had like favorite hobbies. They probably had like, you know, favorite video games. And I mean, all of that is gone in an instant.
I think it's the word we've talked about this 2 or 3 times before on the podcast, that realization that everyone else around you has a life, has like
their own lives,
complicated and complex as your own. This is just a much, I guess, sadder application of it. But
yeah, I mean, like the weight of war is that it's the fact that, like, you know, the people you care about, and like you think about how much you care about your own life and the lives of those close to you, and you realize those lives are being lost every single day on the scale of hundreds and thousands, and it is almost incomprehensible.
I think maybe one question that's kind of in the back of everyone's mind is like, does this result in World War III? Or like compared to, what we've seen in history, like how the previous World War started, like, empirically, how does it compare?
Yeah. Personally,
and
I don't think so. I don't think so. You look at the way the way wars usually escalate. And I mean, this is more comparable to World War II than World War I. World War I, it was just like a Mexican standoff. Everybody was willing to go to war. Like, everybody had guns pointing at everybody. And then you just saw like a spark and like everyone was just like, all right, we're doing this. World War II was far different. Basically, the Allies didn't think Hitler would invade Poland. They were like, we've put in a security guarantee. Hitler's not going to violate that. Hitler was like, the Allies are bitches. No way they're going to go to war over Poland. So he invaded Poland. And then, it was like nobody wanted to go to war, but it happened just because, of the miscalculation. I don't see that happening in Eastern Europe after Ukraine. I think this is just not the kind of war that would embolden Putin. He's having such a hard time dealing with Ukraine as it is. I think once he gets to the end of the road and he's accomplished his objectives, annexing Ukraine if he wants to, installing a puppet government if he wants to, I think he's gonna have taken so many losses that for him looking at trying to do the same thing even in Moldova, which is a very small country, I don't think he's gonna have the appetite for that. I mean, he's just gonna be his resources are gonna be completely worn out. He's essentially throwing himself against a brick wall here.
Yeah, I know one thing. Obviously, this feels like an unnecessary kind of violence, unnecessary kind of war scenario. But I know there's been a kind of a renewed interest in stopping violence across the globe because of this. People are seeing this, and I don't know. I don't know how to grapple with that because in some cases, I feel there's not really many other options. If you're dealing with terrorists, for example, how else do you deal with that besides launching strikes against them or tactical teams against them? Obviously civilians are going to get caught in the crossfire. There is going to be miscalculations. How do you weigh that decision calculus? I mean, that's a one thing all in itself, right? But then one other thing that got me thinking was this is what the president has to do all day, every day for 4 years, and no one sees this. I have a huge amount of respect now for any president. I don't even care if I agree with them or not. It's this kind of stuff takes a toll on people because whatever decision you make, people are gonna die.
I mean, definitely. It's hard. I mean, I think people I'm just reminded of Obama, how he went into
the pictures.
He just went into the presidency. Yeah. He was young. He was fit.
A young dude.
And he comes out. He's aged 20 years in 8 years. It's crazy. The kind of toll that takes on people. I mean, that's one reason why people when you ask kids what do you want to be, and they're I want to be the president. It's no, you don't kid.
You don't want that. This is not a job you want.
Seen that one movie? I think with Ben Affleck. He's some sort of he works for the FBI.
Don't Look Up.
No.
Argo.
No,
Argo.
not Argo. It's the name is not coming to me. I saw it very recently. It's an old movie, but basically he's this historian, but he works for the FBI as as a researcher basically, and he has his specialties on this one Russian politician who suddenly became the president or the leader of Russia after the old guy died. And there's this entire escalation story about how they almost went to someone launched a nuke, but it turned out to be a terrorist group, and then they escalated. But then in the scenes, though, you could see very clearly. I think they did a really good job depicting how the president and the president's team react to stuff. You could see from the beginning movie towards the end, the differences in their faces, even age wise. It looked very, it was very drastic.
Was it a Tom Clancy movie? Some of All Fears.
So. I don't think so.
Some of All Fears sounds right.
Let me try to find it.
Yeah, find this. But yeah, I mean, when I guess I I don't know if you can justify ending like violence across the globe. Like I don't know. Like first off, that's just like not realistic.
It's not realistic.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's like an ideal world.
I mean,
frankly, like ideally there is no war and like there is world peace, but like that's just not going to happen.
I mean, I think that's like sort of like the dilemma of our generation is like we've got like all these global issues and no way to solve them, like no good way to solve them. Like it used to be that like, you know, people would just be like, yeah, just like send in the troops, like just go to war. But I mean, people now just kind of look upon that as like a bad idea. But
I mean, for the most part, like,
nukes really changed
it is, yeah. Yeah. It's just hard because, I mean, either way, people die. It's just like a calculus of like who and how many.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very, very sad.
Yeah.
Just kind of
like just disclaimer for anybody watching is we really do feel for the people in Ukraine.
Well, I mean,
like,
yeah, I
the
don't
civilians
think
have,
there was any question on
yeah,
that.
I'm just throwing it out there if there's any confusion. Is like we really do feel bad. Like civilians should not be involved in warfare.
I mean, yeah, but I mean that's just kind of that's part of war. Any war you have, you're going to have civilian casualties. There's no way to avoid that.
Yeah, I feel like going back to like the generational thing, like. I feel like our generation is very, very optimistic and at times too optimistic. Like they're not very realistic.
I think it's the opposite. I think like our generation just like has no hope anymore.
Oh, okay. Like I guess maybe I phrased that wrong. I feel like our generation is not realistic enough at times.
Maybe. I mean, I think that's just true for everybody. Like everybody wants to like hold a war like it exists in like Hollywood movies. So, you know, you just go in, you shoot the bad guy, like you leave. That's how like everybody wants to see war. But it's not this. I mean, it's never how it turns out. War is messy, and the people who suffer the most are always civilians every time.
Yeah.
And there's just no way to hold a war where you don't have civilians like taking the cost. And I mean, like ultimately in this case, like it's all like all of that just lies on Putin. Like this is like entirely his responsibility. And
like in this case, there's no justification.
There is no justification. I mean, that's the worst part of it is like you just see some people trying to justify it. I mean, you see like Trump and Tucker Carlson saying things like, you know, like Putin was like justified. I mean, it's unbelievable. It takes a complete lack of empathy to have that view. Like no matter what you thought like Putin's justifications were or his reasons were, no matter what you thought his like concerns were in terms of like national security, Ukraine posed zero threat to Russia militarily. The Ukrainian people posed zero threat to Russia. All Putin saw was this sad need to try and like reaffirm Russia's glory, whatever the fuck that means, and to try and like stop a democratic country from succeeding. It's pathetic, and it is as close to just pure evil as you're going to see in any person or action.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are comparing this to the invasion of Poland.
Yeah,
which, like,
I mean the difference is, I think. Well, first of all, like we don't have a security guarantee. We didn't have a security guarantee for Ukraine, like we did for Poland. So you know, this is not going to spark by itself a wider war. Now, if Putin invades a country where we do have a treaty obligation, like the Baltic states, like Poland again, then Poland.
Do we have a treaty obligation to Romania?
Yeah, Romania is part of NATO.
Yeah.
I don't believe we have a treaty obligation to Moldova, but we do have treaty obligations to like most of the countries bordering Ukraine.
Interesting.
But Ukraine itself is not NATO,
No, Ukraine's
right?
not in NATO.
Okay.
And like that's the thing. I mean, like Putin was saying, like I want to guarantee Ukraine's not going to join NATO, and it was like that was never on the table. Nobody was discussing that. It's just an excuse.
Yeah.
Did you manage to find that movie, Pranay?
It was Summer Fears. It was Summer Fears.
Yeah,
Some of all.
Yeah, some of all.
I remember because like I read the book and you were describing it, and I was like, that sounds like the plot to that book. But
that was a good movie. It was a good movie.
I don't think I've seen it, but maybe
It's on
You guys
Netflix.
should check it out.
Isn't there a new?
It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
There's a new Batman movie. Does
That's
that come
true.
out?
Yeah, that is coming out next weekend. Robert Pattinson. I'm actually really, really hyped for Robert Pattinson.
I am. I think he's a pretty good. I think he's actually a pretty good actor.
He's a good actor.
I'm gonna
Despite
be
he's
honest.
in Twilight stuff, but I think he's a good actor.
I had the weirdest dream last night, which you just reminded me of. Like in my dream, I was watching just like these YouTube reviews of like the Batman movie, and they're talking about how much they hated Robert Pattinson, and they're like, man, like they need to stop with these Batman movies. Like The Dark Knight was good, but after that, like everything else has just sucked. And, like I woke up and I was like,
No, that is not true.
I woke up and I was like, what? What? Batman?
Nah, the Lego Batman movie
Oh,
slaps.
the Lego Batman movie was tight.
Honestly, one of my favorite Batman. Like, not even gonna lie, one of my favorite Batman movies.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean,
I don't know. I'm excited to see it. The new
Yeah.
Batman. I mean,
I don't know. Like the trailers
feel
look
like-
kind of
yeah.
edgy to me. Like I saw them. I was yeah.
It is.
I
It's
don't know,
supposed to be
the
like
point,
the
right? Yeah,
darkest
that's the
Batman
point.
there is. Yeah.
I guess, but like it almost felt like it was too much edge. Like he was like, "Who are you?" He's like, "I am vengeance. I am the night." And I'm just sitting here like,
Yeah, that's
"Okay,
sick.
dude." Like,
no, it's like a 16-year-old like wrote
Yeah,
that.
I'm
It's
just
like a
like,
super like
simmer-
depressed
yeah,
emo
simmer
16-year-old.
down.
Chill out a bit.
I feel like I am very okay, Penguin and Riddler look so sick. Like they look like such well-written villains, but I am very curious to see how Catwoman works
Yeah.
out. I'm not sure if I love it or I hate it.
I was interested. Like I thought it was interesting that they brought out like the Riddler and the Penguin because I don't know. Like I feel like having two villains. It's like
Yeah, and they're both big
Yeah.
villains. They're not like
Yeah,
side.
yeah.
villains,
I mean, like every superhero movie we've seen in the past, it's just like if they try to make it about multiple villains, yeah.
It's,
Like even the Spider-Man movie, they were like, okay, Green Goblin is the guy. Like sure
Yeah.
we've got like all these other villains, but like aside from Electro, I don't think any of them were like really bad. I mean, Doc Ock got like
Yeah.
cured pretty much immediately, and then like I don't even.
Yeah, Sandman's always
Sandman
been
was
a good guy.
Sandman was just like a good dude. He's just like
just like had a
Yeah.
Yeah, he just
Like-
originally started out as the good guy in that movie, right? Because he just was helping.
yeah, he was helping
Yeah.
him fight
And
Electro.
then, dude, my favorite part of that movie was just Lizard because he had no motivation. He was just like sitting in that truck.
Yeah,
He's just
there.
sitting in that truck. Green Goblin starts beating shit up, and he's like, "All right, I'm out of here." And then he goes up at the statue. He's like, "I'm beating people up. Why? I'm a lizard." Like,
I mean, he's a lizard.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, but there was a very clear established villain of that movie. So
yeah,
yeah, I'm interested to see how the Batman movie plays out. People are hyping it up. I think it could be good, but I think it's not going to be like an average movie.
When
It's going to
is,
be either really good or really bad.
When is Multiverse of Madness coming out?
That's coming. Mom is coming out the first week of May 4th, 5th,
Mm.
something like that.
We gotta see it.
Yeah, we
Oh,
gotta
dude,
go
yeah,
see that. That's gonna
that
be.
looks tight.
Yeah, that looks so hype.
We gotta
Like-
see that
like-
like opening weekend.
Yeah, yeah. The problem is, I think it's 1 week before all of our finals.
I
Like,
don't
think
give
it's
a-
the weekend
Who gives
before
a shit about
finals.
Crap,
finals?
bro.
Finals-
I don't
You know what? I'm
Crap.
coming back for that movie.
Yeah.
Good man. Today, why not?
You know, but see, the Multiverse of Madness. Like, first off, the trailer so well done. Not as good as like the
Just got
first
a
Avengers
little
Infinity
out
War
of
trailer.
hand.
They're like, yeah. But when he's like flying through all the universes and stuff, there was an animated universe,
Oh, there
Like the
was
What If
really
universe.
shit. I did not
the
realize
What
that.
If universe. Yeah,
Dude, it's
And
gonna be
the-
so hype.
the leak apparently. I don't know if this is true or not, but the leak apparently is that like obviously we saw the zombies in the trailer, right? So the what's supposed to happen is that Scarlet Witch is supposed to like just go insane, like she's supposed to be the villain, and she like raises up all these zombie Avengers to kill Doctor Strange, and then Tobey Maguire Spider-Man comes in and fights with Doctor
No.
Strange.
Yo.
Wait, is it zombie like Spider-Man?
No, this is like the
Okay,
Tobey
okay,
Maguire.
okay.
Like, yeah.
I thought we were just gonna get zombie
No.
Maguire. I was like, I'm so ready for the memes.
We have Tobey Maguire, we have Bully Maguire, now we have Zombie
Dude,
Maguire.
Sam Raimi coming back. He's just like adding to the pantheon. Like he's seen the subreddit. He knows what he has to do.
That's true. Yeah, he used the budget to make Spider-Man 4. Like,
It'll be so
Yeah.
exciting.
Oh man, dude.
Or,
But
yeah,
is there-
but like that looks like I love the interaction between Wanda and Strange. Like I think that's such a good combo.
I've always thought Wanda was super sick.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Doctor Strange definitely cooler, but
For sure.
I always
No
like had
question.
to respect. I was like, damn, like Wanda is a badass for sure.
She a bad
Um,
shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in some of her outfits, she's. I think in like the Sokovian outfit or whatever, like the one from Civil War,
Age of Ultron.
or yeah, Age of Ultron. I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I like that
Oh,
outfit.
my God.
Yeah,
Really, I like the class, the like WandaVision outfit with like the tiara.
the tiara.
Okay, yeah, that
That's
was
the
sick.
Scarlet
That was
Witch.
sick. Yeah, that's legit
It's nice.
Scarlet
It's nice. I won't lie. It's nice, but I have a thing for the Sokovian version of Wanda. In my heart.
You know, I mean, like, I know some people don't like superhero movies because they feel like there's just been too many of them, and I can kind of see that. I mean, we've had like so many superhero movies.
I mean, there's still. It doesn't matter. Like they're fun
Yeah, I mean,
movies. Like not
exactly.
everything has to be like
and like I'm just
meaningful.
like so glad like Marvel always gives me something to look forward to, because like I always feel like, you know, the next one's gonna be sick, you know, it's gonna be tight. Like,
yeah, and
And it always
like,
is.
even when they
It
drop
is.
one that's just like kind of like like the one after that is just a banger. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
like Captain Marvel, but
Yeah.
right after that was like Endgame. Like I didn't really like Black Widow, but right after that was Shang-Chi. I didn't really like Eternals, but right after that was Spider-Man. It's like, you know, you're never disappointed for long.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about this the other day. Like, how lucky are we? We live in
Yeah.
the same like time period where like this. We started like we were able to see the
Oh, yeah,
beginning of
that's
it, and now
true.
we're able to see it
yeah,
all
we
the
were
way
watching
through.
the
From
Iron
the
Man movies
beginning
as they came
Yeah.
out, and we were watching all these movies just as they came out. I think that's
Yeah, I
awesome.
saw. I mean, I
Endgame
saw.
came out our high school graduation.
I think
year.
I might have
Like-
seen like I'm not all of them in theaters, but all of them except for Dark World and Age of Ultron. Around like that period, like I kind of fell off the wagon just because, like, I'll be honest, those movies kind of sucked like a bit. But like right around like Guardians of the Galaxy, like post after that, I think I've seen every single one like in theaters opening
I
weekend.
think I've seen everything from Avengers onwards.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Iron Man 1
Yeah.
in theaters. I don't know if it was opening weekend. I mean, I don't remember. I was 8, but like I saw it in theaters.
I think I just saw it at
Yeah.
home, but
I still have the Blu-ray. Like I don't have a Blu-ray.
Very
it's,
nice.
it's a
damn.
fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's just so good. Like that's another thing.
And it was before Marvel had their like shit like completely together.
Yeah, I mean, like
I think.
Yeah.
I mean, like it just came together so well, and I mean, like that's another thing. Like you,
Wait, and they took like a huge risk on
yeah,
RDJ. Like they did not know if he was even going to be alive in the next 5 years because at this point
Yeah.
he was a felon.
yeah. I
Right?
mean, like he
He's like a convicted
he had a
felon.
bad drug addiction, but hey,
Yeah.
he seems to be doing pretty well for himself.
Maybe
Yeah, but-
partly like doing the role.
I'm
helped.
honestly
It
probably
definitely
did.
did. Like, beyond a doubt.
Yeah,
Beyond a
definitely
doubt.
did.
Uh,
Like he is an
Yeah.
Avenger. Like he avenged his own life.
I don't know if I'll put it that way, but yeah.
Maybe Cobb is the next Batman, you know? he's
Yeah.
like, I am vengeance.
No, I am the storm.
Oh, yeah, he's the fucking story.
I am the storm.
but what is in your pants?
Oh.
Thunder
Storm.
to war. Oh man.
Now, but back on Mom for a second. I think we skipped over like Professor X and like the X-Men and stuff, and like Tom
Wait,
Cruise
when
as
is that?
Iron Man.
When are they doing the like Fantastic Four and also
in the near future.
X-Men stuff?
Is this
Like,
will
with
this be the
everybody in the
fourth
combined.
Fantastic Four?
This will be the first Fantastic Four in the MCU.
I mean, they had
Yeah,
the one
but,
with
no,
like
no.
they had the one with Chris Evans as like Human Torch,
Chris Evans.
and then they had
Yeah. they
yeah.
had two,
they
of,
had
those.
two of those.
And then they had the reboot
Yeah,
with
yeah.
MBJ as Human Torch.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And then
So-
this will be the number 4, yeah.
This is technically the fourth
Yeah.
Fantastic
Yeah.
Four. I believe. The fourth one is
Four
the
stars
charm.
a charm.
Yeah.
I mean, the MCU's done pretty well for themselves. So I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll finally
Yeah.
get the actual Fantastic Four movie. The can.
Dude, I am just waiting for there to be at like at Disney, or because I know Universal right now has their whole Marvel section, but now
Yeah.
like Disney has like owns Marvel, but Universal still has the rights to it. I don't know how those rights work or whatever, But you know how they have like Harry Potter World for Universal? If they make like an MCU world for Disney, bro.
They have an Avengers campus on either Universal. I think Universal.
Yeah, but I don't think it's like a very. It's like
not very big.
It's old. It's like older as well.
I've been watching this YouTube series called Defunctland, which is like on like old sort of like Disneyland like attractions and sort of like all their parks.
Oh, I think
dude, it's crazy some of the stuff they do, like. Some of the rides that they put out, like I would not put it past them to just be like, "Fuck it, we're just making an exoskeleton that flies for the Iron Man attraction."
Shit.
That'd be pretty hype.
That would be very hype.
Yeah, dude, they build an MCU world. Like it's a hell of an investment, but it
it's gonna dividends. Dividends.
I'm telling you right now, like if they make like a full-on MCU world. You're going to see those Doctor Strange portals, but IRL. And it's going to be completely believable. I'm telling you, this is going to happen. If they do that, which they will.
Bro, they could definitely do it. Look. Like, you just put it against a wall, right? And then, like, you walk into, like, a different room. You have to, like, step over it, walk. And then the room around you, like, it expands and turns. Like, it's really, it's very simple. Like, it'll be so epic.
Just change gravity. Alter the laws of physics.
No, okay. Whatever.
I know what you mean.
See, the thing about Marvel is like they have these super bangers, like huge multiversal level stuff, like No Way Home, Endgame, Multiverse of Madness. But then they sprinkle in those Shang-Chi's and the Black Widows and the Hawkeyes, like just grounding us back in like the real, like Shang-Chi and Hawkeye were both really, really good, and they didn't like involve this huge, like big scale multiverse.
They were their own story in their own little world, and it worked out nicely, which is nice. You don't always want the big 19 million cameos, all the different characters, huge plot lines. Like sometimes you just want there to be a bad guy, a little bit of a story arc.
Which is where you kind of get those like Daredevil kind of characters. Like I really, really like Kate Bishop's character.
I think
that's like one of the best ones.
My one gripe was with Shang-Chi was like they had to have like a big dragon thing. Like it couldn't have just been a big
squid monster. I mean, okay. I did not like that, but I'm willing to forgive it for the first half of the movie. For the
bus scene.
The bus scene, the skyscraper scene. I'll also point out, I thought it was really funny when I was watching it. Like they made a big deal of like him taking on like his dad's like head goon and like almost like killing him with like his stat like with the knife.
Yeah, and then they just like he just got his soul sucked out. Like Death Dealer
there's that, praise. But like also like right before that, he kicked like a dozen guys off the side of a building. Those people are not surviving. Like they're trying to make a big deal about him like making the decision to kill somebody.
We keep that on the down low.
He's a good man. Shang-Chi's a good man.
Okay.
Hurts
nobody. Fine. I'm just saying.
I will say my one gripe with No Way Home.
No.
Is that
Shut
at
the hell
very
up, bro.
No. I've shown this to you.
I'll kick you out of Discord. I'll kick you out of Discord. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, I've shown you this video. At the very end when the Spider-Man are swinging, they did not play the Spider-Man theme song. They play like the Homecoming theme. But if they play like the very classic, like that was such a missed opportunity,
bro.
You can't even argue with me.
No. I agree. That's like a proper like gripe. It's a positive gripe, I guess.
Yeah. It's just this was a missed opportunity. It wasn't like something they did wrong. If they played that
music, I would have applied mascara and then just started crying. Make sure it's the runny mascara.
Oh man,
that would have been too much for my heart.
We'll post that video on the Insta for everybody to see.
I mean, I'm just
because that deserves to be shared.
Like, at this point, it's like I'll be honest. Like I'm more of an MCU stan than I am a Star Wars stan, which is crazy. Because like I
never would have expected that from Noah.
I was so deep into Star Wars when I was a kid. Like all the EU shit. Like Wikipedia, I read that like basically as like a hobby. But like, dude, Star Wars, it's just like it hasn't pulled it for me. Like the sequel trilogy sucked balls. Like I'm sure the Mando's like good, but
Mando's good. Rogue One was good. I think the first of the sequels, The Force Awakens, was good.
I mean, The Force Awakens is fine, and then like they just completely shat the bed with the next two. Like, that's the thing. That's the other thing, though. It's like they can't really do these small stories like Marvel can. Like Marvel has Hawkeye, and like they have the first half of Shang-Chi. But I mean, like, when Star Wars tries to do like a small story that's not like, the entire galaxy is going to be blown up by the First Order. It's like they try to do like the Han Solo movie, like Solo, a Star Wars story. It just didn't work for me. Because like they kept having to go back, be like, and like winking at the camera, like, "Hey, look, it's Chewbacca. Hey, look, it's Lando Calrissian." And then it just doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like an actual world. It feels like they're you can tell, that they're like making this story for the audience specifically, and it feels like just blatant fan service, which is like good in like, Spider-Man when it's done well.
You know what I think would be interesting, actually, is I know, like, on our very first podcast episode, we spent, like, 45 minutes talking about Star Wars.
We did, yeah.
We did.
So I think it'd be interesting to see how the perspectives has changed since then.
That was, like, what, 2020?
No. That's because the first episode that we recorded was right after we all saw The Rise of Skywalker.
Terrible movie. Terrible. Holy shit. Like, God, that movie is the equivalent of like Battlefield 2042. They just like they just did not give a shit. They just like shoved it out there. Like, the worst, like on top of it all, like that like the big sort of like climactic scene where they're like, all of these Star Destroyers have Death Star lasers. They're gonna blow up the galaxy. And they have like all these Star Destroyers. Those were the exact same models they used for Rogue One. They literally took the CGI assets from Rogue One, a previous movie, made it bigger, and they were like, this is the thing for our movie. And they just copy pasted it 100 times. It is so sad how little effort they put into that.
I know, going back to like the small story Star Wars stuff, I disagree with that because of the Mandalorian series. That is good, and that's a small story.
Like, I don't know.
But that's not a movie.
Yeah, but then you got like Boba Fett, which like was like,
Yeah, it was all right, but the Mandalorian is like a small series. But it's a series. It's not just a movie,
I don't know where I want them to go now. Like with MCU, like I'm ready. Like whatever they like.
But it's also like the MCU has comic books to go off of. They have some storylines.
I might know that. But like I mean, like the MCU, it's like you can tell what they're doing. Like they had Thanos. And then, like, now they're just going, like, they're clearly setting up something with the multiverse, like, Loki, Spider-Man, like, Multiverse of Madness. They're gonna do something big, like, all the multiverse, like, all the universes.
I mean, it's gonna be like a King kind of storyline.
I'm here for that. Yeah. Whatever the fuck they throw at me, I'm here for it. Star Wars, I have no idea what they're gonna do next. And to be honest, I don't know if I care. Like, I mean, The Mandalorian is just, like, I mean, it's a good story, but, like, it doesn't take the world as a whole anywhere, right? Like the Star Wars universe right now, if you think about like in universe, where they're at is Rise of Skywalker. And
they're going back. Like the trilogy is supposed to be before any of this.
I mean, I'm just not interested in anything they have to do. And like, I know you brought up like the MCU has comics, but like Star Wars had like expanded universe material to draw upon too. I mean, they had the Thrawn trilogy, which is a banger series of books. Yeah. They had like a bunch of comics. They had like a lot of like book series.
Even the I don't know if you've played the Jedi Fallen Order.
I have not. No, I haven't done that.
Okay, the Jedi is Cal. His name's Cal Kestis.
Yeah,
that's such a good game. I thought that was such a good game, and the story, like I was invested in that story. Not like, I don't know, Red Dead Redemption or whatever, but like this was still a good story that I think could be translated well to a movie.
I mean, it's just like they killed off Han Solo. Carrie Fisher's dead, unfortunately.
They did.
Luke Skywalker died.
Look, I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. Like, no one always try to get me to watch the movies. I said I would. I never ended up doing it. I was just never really one for Star Wars, but I forgot to go this Solo.
I mean,
his son stabbed. Like the only good thing about those sequels was Adam Driver. Like Adam Driver,
they fucking killed Adam Driver too at the end of Rise of Skywalker.
Wait, what?
Yeah, his character is dead. They have no
kill him at the
interesting
end.
characters. They have no interesting characters anymore who are still
I'm not
alive.
watching it.
Han Solo, dead. Luke Skywalker,
I'm
dead.
not.
Like Carrie
I'm
Fisher,
not watching it.
like gone from this world, and she was a treasure. Adam Driver's character, dead. They have
Yeah, and they killed off
Why would
Kylo
they
in the
kill
worst
him?
way. Like Kylo gave Rey a kiss,
Oh my God,
and then he
dude.
just like faded into the Force.
they
Wait, did he love?
He like
No,
turned
no, no.
good. No,
Okay.
he like turned
his
good.
part
But
two
they-
is just
yeah.
out
Dude.
there, like
I remember in the
What
theater,
is
like when he
going
kissed her,
on?
I was like, "What?" Like
I was just
I
like,
think I
please,
said that.
just
audibly.
please
What
don't
he
do
said, it was
this.
like a proper like makeout
Yeah.
kiss. Like what was it?
No, it was like a
Yeah.
Disney
Yeah.
kiss. Like she was dead, and he was like, "I'm
Well,
gonna kiss you now. You are alive." Oh, I'm dead. Like
Yeah.
Oh god.
I fucking hate the sequel trilogy with like all my body and soul.
Like, where was there any
Hey, at least
sexual
we have
tension?
prequel memes.
My point. Disney made a whole Star Wars like world thing, right?
Yeah.
Why?
Just make the MCU one. It'll
I
be
don't.
better.
Yeah, I don't
It'll
know
be
why
better.
they're making Star Wars Land. They're doing a terrible job of it. Right now, like the big thing is like they're trying to do this like Galactic Cruiser, which is like a hotel experience, but Star Wars. But they put such little effort into it that everybody hates it.
Look,
Rip
I
Disney.
think I think Universal currently is superior because they still have like some of the like they have the whole coaster, have all that, but Harry Potter World is just superior. Like it's simply just better right now. So when are we going, guys? Spring break.
Spring break. I mean, like we don't
break?
have the same.
Spring break?
Like it doesn't line up.
Look, Renee and I have been trying to get this
That's
happening since Narnia, bro.
From Africa, from Zimbabwe.
Bro.
I mean, like we said we are gonna do it after high school ended, and it didn't happen.
No.
No, we didn't.
Renee and I were figuring out. We even went as so far as like figuring out logistics.
Oh yeah, we
getting
made like an
estimates,
entire
all of
doc
it.
and everything. We're like, okay, this is the hotel we can stay at. This is what
Yeah.
we'll buy.
You guys just griefed us.
Look, I mean,
Yeah, I said no. I said after college. Like I'm willing to do it after undergrad.
Why do we have to like? What is the value in just waiting and waiting
well,
and waiting?
you know,
and
I don't know
waiting?
about you, but I'm kind of poor.
That was a primary reason for all of us.
I mean, like hotels don't cost. I think you guys came up with like a cost estimate. You're like, we can go. We can
Came
go
up-
for like.
it was a pretty reasonable cost.
I mean, was it like 2 days or something?
No.
Like,
How long was
It
it?
was
Renee?
4 days actually.
Yeah, it was 4 days.
was it? I thought it was shorter than that.
Regardless,
Well,
I think
anyway,
it
I
was
asked my parents, and they're like, "Nah." They're like, "Nah, not until you're done with college. We're not spending that."
Yeah, like I asked my parents, and like, hey, can I go to Disneyland? They're like, you got money? I'm like, no.
That's your answer.
Tragic.
No, but after undergrad, we should do it after undergrad because after that, there will literally not be another chance where we can all.
I mean, yeah, but like
Yeah, but
also,
probably will. I do.
I mean,
Hopefully.
honestly, I think there would
Like,
be unless after we all graduate, we're like we're not friends.
yeah.
No, but like
Bye.
after that, it just becomes a lot logistically
No,
harder.
no,
Friendship.
Tell me
ended.
right now.
Friendship with stating the obvious.
Tell me right now,
Rip.
what could each of us do that would make you just be like, nope, not my friend anymore, like at all?
Disrespect Harambe.
No, I feel like my threshold would be pretty high
I'll
at
be
this
honest,
point.
like one thing that's come out of like the Ukrainian war that's like made me laugh was like I saw like a Reddit post like Russia's invaded Ukraine and the top comment was just like all this because they shot that fucking gorilla, man. Like, ever since then the world's been
I
going
saw a thing.
downhill.
I saw a thing where they were talking about like, oh yeah, Russia is doing all this, like we're scared for our lives. This, and the top comment was, and you're still coming into work tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Like stuff like that is just like,
Yeah. I mean there was that video of like that person like on The View who was concerned about her Italian vacation. Yeah. Some people
I don't know what that is.
she
but
was like talking.
I've never seen
like,
that.
I mean, it's like a talk show. Like it's like a.
Oh yeah, I know what that is, but I don't know the clip you're talking
Yeah,
about.
no, I mean, it was just like she was just like, oh, but what about my Italian vacation? And
She's being selfish.
yeah, no shitting. I mean, like some people just lack like brains.
Basic human.
I feel like we've talked about this a lot.
empty.
That like the the intelligence level, like the average intelligence level of the average person is like much lower than we thought it was.
Yeah. For real. I don't know what my bar though would be for like friendship with you ended with you guys.
Like I feel like we've been through so much together and we've done so much together that it takes like a very, very high threshold. Like it have to be like you do something really, really bad.
I'll be honest though, like it depends on like who you murder.
Is that where we draw the line?
It depends on who you murder. Like
Yeah, murder's not even alive. What are you talking about?
True.
Like I'll be honest, like if you come to me and you're like, "Yo, I just like shot Vladimir Putin," I'm like, "Yo, let's go."
Let's go, fuckers.
Yeah, you go up to Jith and you're like, I just did some war crimes in Uganda. He's like,
bro, if I get him, I res.
What?
You just res him.
Action gaming.
Oh my!
They need to make that into a Marvel movie. Still, whatever.
What?
They should just buy
Oh
Action
my
from
God.
Riot.
Yeah.
It's such a good storyline. Honestly, like Riot screwed it up so
Oh my
bad.
god! Yesterday we were playing a game, right? We were just like absolutely dominating them, right? Noah's Jinx. I'm Volibear. We're at their Nexus, and we're just like they have. It's an open Nexus. They have nothing around. We have waves pushing in. Noah just gets a quadra kill, and now we're just dancing around. And Noah jumps into the fountain. Akshan gets the kill, and they all show up to kill me.
Like, wait a
No,
second.
we won. We still
I
won.
mean, yeah, we were
okay,
hard
okay,
stopping,
okay.
so we just thought it was kind of funny.
I would have.
We just thought it was kind of
laughed
funny,
so
but,
hard if you guys lost.
I'll be honest. Like I would have laughed so hard if we lost that because of that. I wouldn't even have been
And
mad.
that's Noah says that is the moment where Powder from Arcane turns into things from League of
Did you
Legends.
say Powder from
Yeah.
Arcane? My man.
The classic Powder from Arcane.
Powder from Arcane.
Well, I'm
I feel
honestly looking forward to next week to seeing you guys and doing something like
Spring break
break's
next
next
week.
week.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Well,
For spring break's next week for me and Pranay.
I'll be honest. I kind of
Yeah.
forgot what my. I think my spring break is the same as you and Pranay.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
we
okay.
checked this.
Yeah.
We checked this. Yeah.
Mine is the week
I see.
after, but I'm in town, so
Yeah, so it's cool.
I don't care about my classes. I'll skip them.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, we can go get the
in-
donuts.
in this
we can go
coming-
see Batman.
So not obviously not this coming week. It's the week after this.
No,
coming
it's the week after. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll figure out plans.
Yeah, we'll get some Haracha donuts.
Horchata.
Do the Batman.
Yeah.
Horchata donuts. Horchata.
Haracha, bro. Haracha.
I don't know these things.
It's all good. It's all good.
Harambe.
We'll get the
Harambe
donuts. We'll get the donuts.
Oh, Harambe
Ooh.
donuts.
We'll get
That's
the
so
donuts.
nice.
We'll kick it. Maybe we'll catch the Batman movie. Who knows?
Oh, that's an idea.
Yeah. Maybe we'll record a live episode.
Maybe
Seems
we'll-
obvious.
That'll be
Wait,
awesome.
what?
Okay.
Isn't how would we do that?
We
I guess
go
we'll
to
find out
each
next
one of
week.
their houses.
We're
recording it
record
live
their
right
house.
now.
We'll find out next
We're
episode.
recording it
We'll
live.
find
How
out
would we
next
make it
episode.
any more
We
live?
go to their house, Noah.
Don't
and
worry
we
about
talk
it. Don't worry about it. Look, if you want to see us live next episode, let us know. Thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure to leave a like and follow us.
Tell us what you
we
thought
love
of the
your
face cams.
support. We have face cams now. You can see what we look like. Website will be up soon. Keep an eye out for that as well. Make sure to comment below. Let us know if you want us to do a live episode, because we can figure out the logistics of it somehow, no matter what Noah says. Make sure to subscribe to find out when that episode comes out. And thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you in the next one. All right, it's fine. Ready? Oh my god, my